Good evening, everybody. Michael Decent Mind Mike again. Now, we've got a topic here tonight that I think it's going to light a fire under some of you. The topic is, what age is too young to be married? In some states, it's legal to have young marriages, and some it's not. Ron, what do you have to say about that topic?
Well, I even think in the early 20s it's too young for people to really marry, a lot of them, because they're immature. And there are a lot of divorces. They should have waited longer to decide whether or not they were right for each other. But the shocking thing here is, by some research I've done, and I think you've done a little too, that in some states they've allowed kids to get married at 14 years old, and some girls have been married at 12. What do you think of that?
Well, to me, I believe that's just not correct to do to anybody. Marry your siblings off at 12 years old and 14 years old. I mean, let's face it, what the hell? They just started life. Okay? Most of the time, when you start marriage that young in life, you don't know what you're doing. You're going to mess it up.
Close or better. Yeah, we should be guarding our children better than that.
We should be. At least you would think the Congress would do better than that.
What state was it? Was it Massachusetts?
That was Massachusetts.
Found that as young as 12 years old can be allowed?
Yes, as old as 12 years old with parental consent. I tell you what, Ron, I don't see what parent in the right state of mind would marry their kid off or have them be married off at age 12 or even 14 for that fact. Who would really do such a thing?
Even if the kid were dying of something and wanted the experience of marriage, that would be really, really weird. I can't understand that train of thought at all. I would like to hear of a case where they thought that was necessary. Sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Now, I believe I know of a case. Hold on for a minute. Ron, if memory serves me right, I believe that in 2017 it started where minors could be married with parents' consent at age 12 and 14 years old.
And was I right? It was Massachusetts?
You were correct, it was.
They should know better than that.
Well, I just think it's horrible. I really do. I think it's horrible to marry any child off, at 12 and 14 years old. And it's like saying, okay, I've had enough of you. Go get married. Have your own life. Bother somebody else. But, oh wow, I couldn't even think about doing that to my own daughter. No way.
Exactly. Actually, Mike, you can check on the internet state by state laws for marriage, minimum ages, and many of them go down to 16. Many states, Illinois does, and there's a few other states that will go down to 16. Probably, I guess that's with parental consent, though. That's still pretty young, but it's just shocking that 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds get married in this country, which is really strange.
Well, I have known people at 16 and 17 with parents' consent to be married off. All right, for say, but to get permission for someone to marry your daughter at 12, 13, or 14? Come on. Give me a break. That sounds like a little perverted to me.
A little?
All right, a lot. All right, a lot. Have it your way. So it sounds like.
Well, I don't know. It's just so foreign to me that this was just shocking to know how low it went. I mean,
to say the least.
Someday it's going to go down to 10 and 11-year-olds.
I surely hope not.
Crazy.
Yeah, for a fact,
Speaking
right?
of weird marriage stuff, I mean, in some countries, you're allowed to marry a building or an animal even, and stuff like that. It's really getting out of hand. I won't go into any other types of marriages and everything that we know about a lot of different things going on. But the thing is that this marriage doesn't seem to be as sacred as it used to be and everything. And when people take those vows, it's almost as if they have no intention of really keeping them. They just take those like till death do we part vows, and they don't take them seriously.
Well, that's the younger generation didn't grow up when we did. They didn't see everything. That's how the younger generation looks at it. We didn't live like they did back in the day. So, you can't blame them in a way, but I also would, in another way, blame them. Because when you put the ring on your finger, it's supposed to be for good. Whether you got married in the eyes of God or whether it was a real deal in front of your parents and everybody else. Either way, it's supposed to be taken religiously and, held out to whatever you say.
It's a real problem, Mike. Actually, I just don't know what to say about this thing.
Well, I personally, Ron,
shocking me to find out the minimum age is. What are you about to say?
Oh, come on, Ron. I really like to see them take that law off of the books, Take it out of the books, burn it, destroy it, whatever, But no one needs to be married off at 12, 13, and 14 years old. I mean, you know what? That's awful. Passing some kind of a law like that. I mean, when you stop and think about it, like I said previously, they just started their life. What more do they know about anything?
Yeah. I myself have looked for stories about that, the different cases, especially where they're marrying at 14 and under, and I can't find the stories and what the circumstances were and why. I know there's pregnancies and things like that and whatever else, but I just don't see it.
You only teach them so far, and what happens after that, that's out of your control. That's how it's got to go.
Yeah. I wonder how long any marriage, when they've married around 16 and under, I wonder how long those marriages have actually lasted. I just can't imagine they could last too long. And there's another thing, too, that with parental consent, a girl can marry, I think it was 15 or 16 years old, as long as the male isn't more than 2 years older than her. More than 2 years old.
That's right. That's what it was.
I forget which state that was, but I did read that.
Well, that's unbelievable, though. I mean, seriously. I couldn't even think about, that kind of stuff like that. But, like I said, I say again, the states that go along with this, I think there's 25 out of 50 states that do this. Okay? And who marry their young ones off at a very young age.
But parental consent, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And there's one state you don't need it. I believe that's at 16 years old. And I'm not sure of the state. Well, I believe there's one at 16 years old.
Mm-hmm. Mike, do you mean 16 years old without parental consent?
Yes, I do mean that. There's one of the states I read that one of the states said you can get married at 16 years old without parents' consent.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, you told me. That's not cool either way you look at it. But
Mike, I'd like to say this. There were cultures a long time ago that they considered a male ready for marriage about 30 years old, believe it or not. And they could marry women, though, that were very young, 17, 18 years old. But they were 30-year-old men, and they weren't exactly looking for women that were 21, 22 years old either. They were looking at teenagers to marry, too, at that age. But I know for a fact there were cultures that didn't even consider a man mature until he reaches the age of 30.
Well,
and that's about it.
Yeah, well, if you think back a while, there's in other countries, they still have arranged marriages. Okay?
That too.
I believe Rome, Italy has arranged marriages still.
Yeah, and those children are toddlers when they decide who's going to be married to whom. One toddler to another, and then they just grow up, and that's the arranged marriage. That's the perfect thing. They're going to be great. I wonder how many of those stay together.
It's a good question.
Right?
It's a good question.
There might not be much love in that.
Could be.
Well, that's an entirely different subject, I suppose.
I think it is, brother.
They do wait for a legal age to be married, though, but it's still arranged. So everything's all planned out for them. Not exactly the most fair thing either.
I agree with you there. Well, you know, Ron, what time it is? It's time to wrap.
Yeah, it's about time to go.
That's what it is, brother. It's about time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank all of our first responders for doing the great job that they always do. And I'd like to also say, everybody, stay healthy, stay safe. And until next time, I'm Mike.
Okay.
And I'm saying, until next time.
And we're saying good night.
Good night, America.
Saying good night also.
Good night, America, wherever you are. Good night.